Hello and welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is the show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I get to sit down with singer-songwriter Ireland. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Ireland, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. I want to start this interview how I start pretty much all the other interviews right here on Big Bang Radio Spotlights. And I think it's a great starting point for a lot of artists just to kind of figure out where they're coming from, because everybody is so different and everybody is, they're just so unique in their own ways. So Ireland, what is your earliest musical memory?
Yeah, so this came to my mind the other day, just very randomly. When I'd like to say about 4 or 5 years old, I was gifted a little musical play guitar for Christmas. And it didn't have real strings or anything. It was fully electronic. And it played 3 songs on repeat. And one of them was a Christina Aguilera song that I absolutely fell in love with. And so that was like something that really got me hooked onto music, and I actually fell in love with Christina Aguilera then, and started like looking into her music, or had my parents show me her music. But yeah, and looking back, there are a few pictures of me with my little pink guitar.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it seems like the guitar definitely carried on with you throughout your career, but how exactly did you get started playing music and actually started writing music?
Yeah, so I have always loved music and always been, I guess, involved with it, always listening to it. Luckily, my parents have a really nice, I guess, just library of music. They're both pretty well educated with all sorts of music genres, which has been really helpful growing up because it exposes me to a lot. But my dad was actually gifted a guitar for some reason, and never got into it. And so one day I picked it up and just taught myself a couple chords out of the book, and from there it just kind of went. I started writing some really bad songs. I feel like that's how most people start, with writing just really terrible love songs. But yeah, I was 13 at the time when I first started teaching myself, and from there it just kind of went.
Awesome, awesome. Well, is there a moment in your mind that you can recall where you said, "Oh wow, this music thing, there's something to it. I'm really good at it. I really like it. I wanted to actually do this." Like, can you recall any moment, like any time specifically, where you're like, "This is what I want to do"?
Oh yes, I was playing a gig with my music coach, and it was at this cute little shop called the Cosmic Crow Collective, and I was on the back patio, and on that back patio they shared it with a big brewery, and so I ended up, going in with thinking I was playing this super small gig, and then turns out I was playing for all these other people, and I believe I was 14 at the time, and in the middle of playing, I just knew it hit me, and I was like, wow, I want to play for people. I want to, sing and do this for my career, and I really want to be able to share my story. And so that's kind of the moment where I decided that this is what I'm going to do.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's definitely very inspiring, and I think that really cemented where you are right now as an artist. And the next place I really wanted to go with this was your name. Obviously, we talked a little bit before the interview about the name, but how exactly did you go about saying, "I'm going to go by Ireland"? Because Ireland is your actual, that's your actual birth name.
Yeah, so Ireland is my actual name. I always say that I was blessed with a great stage name. Don't have to change it or anything. But yeah, I think it was kind of one of those things where, like, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to use the last name or come up with a different name or what? And I think I was like, I know Ireland is probably it's one of those hard things to Google where to find me, because, Ireland's a country and there's also Irish music and stuff. But I was like, I really love my name and I really want to embrace it and I really want to stick to it. And one day if something happens and I get big, I'll have that cool just one name, just Ireland.
Well, when did you start making music under just the Ireland musical project that you are currently doing right now?
I think when I first started, I mostly went by just Ireland, and every once in a while someone would say my full name, and I'm like, nope, just Ireland. And I was also so young when I started that I wanted to be sure that I wasn't like exposing myself too much to the world and giving out too much information. So it's something I'd say probably around 15 when I seriously started gigging. I was like, okay, just Ireland. This is what my business is. This is who I introduce myself to everyone else as. And so that's really the age where it became prominent that I'm just Ireland.
Maybe you came to here today. Maybe you came to get away. Maybe I'll be happy. Why do you put me through?
Your original music has this really cool indie slash kind of bluesy pop thing, especially on the new album, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But how exactly did you go about crafting that sound? I guess this is more of an unconscious thing that most artists have, that they just kind of, that's what the kind of music they make. But I don't know, did you go in trying to say, I want to make this kind of music?
Well, when I first started, it was kind of just more of a folk vibe, like a folk pop vibe. But I listen to like solely indie rock music. I of course like listen to other stuff as well, but if I'm in the car jamming out, I'm jamming out to indie rock stuff. And so I wanted to be sure I got that influence on my album because, that's what I listen to. So I want to be sure that it kind of correlates with my personal music sound. And so I did go in with, okay, this is how I write my music and how it feels to me, but I also want that indie rock influence on it. And so it kind of turned from my, I guess, already folky vibes to more of like an indie folk rock. It's very strange. I like to say there's a lot of different flavors in this album, and I think there's a little bit of something for everyone.
Obviously, if you're watching this and not just listening to this on the radio, you can see right behind you, you have Beatles posters and everything. So you always, that's the kind of music that you really draw inspiration from. But what is one of your favorite cover songs that you've ever done?
One of my favorite cover songs, I think, would probably be X's and O's by Elle King. One, I think she's an amazing artist. And this song it's just so fun to play. Depending on where I'm playing or who I'm playing to, I like to change it up. So sometimes it'll be more of a rock bluesy kind of thing, or sometimes it'll be more of a jazzy kind of thing. And so I think it's super fun to play with these covers that everyone knows and, make it my own and put my own spin on it.
1, 2, 3, they're gonna run back to me. I'm the best baby that never got a key. 1, 2, 3, they're gonna run back to me. They always wanna come, but they never wanna leave. My exes and ours, they hide me like ghosts. They want me to make them, but they won't let go. X's and O's.
I want to hop onto your original music in just a second, but since we're on the covers, do you tend to find that you veer more towards one than the other? Like you like making original music a little better, or you like making the covers kind of your own, and like the original music's fun, but really the covers kind of recreating them is your thing? I don't know. Is there like two separate minds for that, or is it kind of like one consistent mind for that? Is like you kind of approach it in the same way?
Yeah, so I always approach it maybe from more of like a business standpoint. Like, I do want to make original music. That is the ultimate goal in my career, is to, write original music and perform it and, even sell some original music to others. But I also think about, as a business, what would they want, and what would the people who are listening want? And of course, people like to listen to what they know, and so that's kind of where the covers come in. But I think something really awesome is that someone can come to my show and be listening to, half covers, half originals, but they may not realize that they're covers because I have changed them up so much, to still make them enjoyable, of course, but, I put my spin on it that they're like, they don't know whether it's a cover or an original. But I definitely do think both are important, but ultimately, I think doing original songs for myself is the most important. But I do want to be able to please the people.
I want to hop onto your location real quick. I believe you're in Dallas, kind of the Fort Worth area, right?
Yes, yeah.
Out in Texas. As far as the musical landscape in that part of town, or that part of the state, rather, how is it for your kind of music?
It's interesting. We get, of course, all sorts of music, and I'm close to Dallas, and in Dallas there's, I guess, like an area known as Deep Ellum, and so that's where we have a lot of musicians come out of, and I love it because it's not just one type of genre of music. There's all sorts of musicians and sounds that come out of here, and so I think my sound, I think, in the world today is kind of current. Like, people are really into this kind of indie music, which I absolutely adore. And so I think it helps me with getting gigs, but also playing back to those covers. When you're playing covers at restaurants or other gigs or shows or whatever, people are going to be interested in that. And so even if your music genre is not what everyone's into, playing those covers helps you, get those gigs and stuff and play your music.
Yeah, kind of get acquainted with the audience in a way, kind of introducing them slowly to your music. Do you have a favorite location in that area that you like to play, like a favorite music venue?
Yeah, so I'm always terrible at answering this question, and I should have it on my brain by now.
It's all good. It's all good. It's hard to choose.
A lot of what I do is, I'm on the grind of gigging, minus coronavirus. And so I'm playing a lot of restaurants, bars, but when I do get to play those shows, I absolutely love it. And so if I had to pick, I'd probably say there's a music festival that happens every year in, I believe, Richardson. So it's pretty close to where I'm at, and it's called the Wildflower Festival. And I absolutely love that. It's totally my scene, and I love being able to go there, play my gig, and then hang out with everyone and go see other music.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I want to hop onto your songwriting process real quick, because we talked about your cover stuff, but your original music is so diverse, so eclectic, and your lyricism really caught my ear too. Do you tend to write more from the experiential side of things, like things that you actually really experience and write into words and either be literal or kind of fabricated, or do you just kind of like doing, I make up a story and I just kind of like going from there? Because I know the new album has a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I love that question. So this album is a concept album, and so it is someone's story, and I've made up this story, and so a lot of the songs I actually wrote for someone else. But in the past, all of my songs have been about experiences, or something that a friend has experienced, or something like along those lines. So this album is something very different for me. But of course, I still slipped in those few songs that I wrote for myself about my own personal experiences. So it's I guess a little bit of both, but I'd say if I had to depend on one, it would be writing for my own experiences.
Well, heard that. And we're going to hop into that new album that you just mentioned just after this question, because I wanted to ask you a non-music related question before we keep going. If you weren't playing music, what would you be doing?
So if I wasn't playing music, I'd honestly probably be working at a super chilled out coffee shop, because I'm that type of girl. I'd still be listening to indie music, still be listening to vinyls, collecting them and slinging coffee all over the place. But that's definitely my vibe. And so I think if I wasn't doing music, I'd be working at a coffee shop and going to school.
Hey, and coffee shops are big havens for music, so you wouldn't be getting too far away from it. So I kind of keep it in the world. Nice, nice. Well, I think the time has come where we mention the new album, which is The Life of Rosemary Ellis. And it's a person's story, but we mentioned it a little bit earlier. But is that actually a person, or is that somebody completely made up that you are literally just writing a story almost like a script or a film?
Yeah, so this is someone I completely made up. And I guess when I first kind of came up with this idea and this character, I also wrote a short story about it so that I could figure out what she's going to do with her life. And of course, like, I took inspiration from stories I've heard or, TV shows I've watched or even stuff from my own life to make up this character.
Well, heard that. Well, what was it like recording that record? Because the whole record, it's very, it has a lot of different kind of change-ups as far as kind of feel and genres and everything too. Did you self-produce that? Did you work with somebody, or did you record it yourself? I don't know. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of recording that?
Yeah, so I actually worked with a buddy of mine, Grant Thompson, and we started off at a studio near me in Grapevine, and then moved out to a different studio in the middle of that. It was a super cool process. He has a band, and they had just broken up. And so I kind of like swooped in and was like, hey guys, I know you're looking for some work to do. Do you want to help me with this album? And so all of them are so awesome and so sweet to do this for me. And so we, worked at the studio, and, all these guys knew each other. So it was super easy because they all could connect, and all they had to do was connect with me in the song or the songs. But yeah, it was a really good process. It was a few late nights, and I was still gigging and still working my day job and trying to get all of this done. And so I'm always so impressed with these stars who do this all the time, because I'm like, that's a lot of work, a lot of late nights. Ooh, but it was so much fun.
Heard that. People don't really realize how much musicians really have to handle, especially if you're self-managed. You have to answer emails, you have to balance your schedule, you have to think about money stuff, you have to think about, a bunch of stuff on top of creating. It's a lot of work, but I think you handle it quite well, and you seem to have done quite well for yourself so far. And I know,
thank you.
no problem. And I know right now COVID-19 has kind of ravaged the world, so the live music world at least, is on hold. But what's next for Ireland? Do you have anything coming out pretty soon, or do you have anything in the works? I don't know. What's going on?
Yeah, so I've actually already started on my new EP. I've started working on it. I already have a few of the songs written, and now I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to name it. I'll go ahead and I'll spill the idea I have to you.
You're right.
So I was planning on doing something like Letters to Henry, something like that, and the songs would be about feelings. And one of the songs is actually a brand new song I've written throughout this coronavirus pandemic. It's called Isolation. And so I really want to, this album or this small EP, I really want to be able to showcase those emotions about how I'm feeling. And I just thought it'd be a neat idea to do Letters to Henry because it flows well, it's kind of cute. But yeah, so that's the next big project for me, is working on that.
Awesome. Well, best of luck to you on that. If people want to keep up with what you are doing music-wise with that, or pretty much anything else you're doing, how can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so nearly all of my social platforms are ireland.singer. My website is irelandsinger.com. Super easy to find. If you can't find me, just look up Ireland Singer DFW, and you'll be able to find my stuff.
Nice. Well, Ireland, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. I have one more question for you. It's not music related, but I like ending all my interviews with this. And I'm not sure if you've ever watched an episode of Big Bang Radio Spotlights before, but I actually am a movie lover. We do a show here at Studio 67 called Big Bang Cinema. I love film. I'm also a musician, but I feel like those two art forms are very closely connected, and I feel like musicians have a soft spot for film because it's a storytelling medium and it also connects music. So, Ireland, before we go, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is called Across the Universe. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but it is completely Beatles themed. All the songs are Beatles, and I could watch that over 1,000,000 times. So I completely recommend watching it. It's so beautiful, and there's so many cinematic elements that will just blow your mind.
Thanks to Ireland for sitting down with me and talking all about her music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NashComCollege, or you can find us on Instagram at Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.